All right, folks, we got us a GMC. It's the denial version. It is the 2008 variety. It's got the big 6.2 liter, and it did run until I pulled it in. And apparently that's the issue the fella's having. You drive the vehicle sometime for a certain period of time till it warms up, he says, and then it quits. The gauges go funky, a bunch of lights start flashing, and then that's it, leaves you walking. So that's where we're at. I started it up, I let it warm up outside, figured I'd get out a scan tool and all that stuff, brought it in. No sooner I brought it in, go grab a scan tool won't communicate, and then that was it. It stalled, and then it won't restart, it doesn't click, doesn't do anything. So I left it sitting here for a while, probably an hour or so. I had some other stuff to do. See if it, yep, still no start. And then I'll show you what I noticed right off the bat. Of course, it wouldn't auto ID. But when I did a full system scan on it, I could make the observation that everything here on the high-speed network, so it's your engine control module, train control module, brake control module, body, fuel pump, trailer brake, what is this one? Yeah, electronic suspension control. None of those communicate. So something has pulled down, or there's a module going funky or something that has messed up the entire high-speed data bus. Now everything here on the low speed network all functions and talk to it, but it talks to it on a different pin. I think that's pin 1 on a GM. I could be wrong, but I think what we need to do is find out what module is going kaput on this thing and dropping down the whole network. So not a big network guy, not a big diagnostic network guy. We don't see a lot of these issues, at least in my shop. So we're going to do some basic checks. We're going to check to see network integrity. We're going to do a resistance check right at the data link connector, pin 6 and 14, and we should see 60 ohms if it's perfectly intact. There's two 120 ohms resistors. I think one in the engine module, and I think it has one just separate in the back. And with that being said, I need to get a diagram for it so we know what the heck we're looking at. We can identify these modules if the network seems intact. With lack of knowledge and experience in this, I think the best way to attack it, my approach, is to split the system down as much as we can and see if we unhook the back half or we unhook a bunch of modules. What's the easiest way to do this? Does the network come back to life? And the other thing we can do after we check resistance is see what the data network looks like. What do our voltages look like? Does it indicate something funky? Some kind of funky. I don't think that we're dealing with a bad ground or power supply or anything like that, just because we lose the entire data network. And if we just, let's say for example, if the ECM had a bad ground or was missing power or something, to the best of my knowledge, it doesn't take out the entire network. Alright, so we're going to take our DVOM. You guys can see that right there. We'll check our leads. Alright, they're good. I left the key off for a little bit. I've got old Bob here. Whoa! Oh, good catch, fella. We're going to go on pin 6 and 14 because this is going to be our high-speed network. We want to see, we're looking for 60 ohms. Wow, I'll be dead. Look at that. We're at 109. 109.7. I don't think radio stations go that high. Technically, we should have the battery unhooked to do this, but there is no network activity on here right now because otherwise she'd be blinking. So that's kind of interesting. That tells us we have some corruption going on here. I say we're pretty close to 120. So that's pretty interesting. All right, we'll keep that right in the old back pocket. And then I think the other thing we can do while we're right here, let me plug the scan tool back in. So we'll plug that back in. Let's turn our key on. So key's on. And I see right now that we don't, I used to have pin 6 and 14, they were blinking on here. Yeah, we're still a no start. So let's take our scan tool here and we're gonna back out. We're gonna come out of here because we can actually check our data bus here. Oops, if I can get to the right data pin here. Go to measurements, then we're gonna go to bus inspection. It's going to look for our, get this where there's no glare on here for you. So let's see, we want to view our waveform, and we can see, let's slow this baby way down. We'll go 500 milliseconds per division, and we can see on can high, it's sitting steady around, oh, never mind, there she goes. I see that just started flashing. I just heard something click. I wonder if it'll start now. Wow, lucky. All right. Fixed, just like that. Fixed it right in front of your eyes. So anyhow, thought I heard something clicking in there. But let's look at this while it's not broke. What we're expecting to see on can high is a 2.5 to 3.5 volt communication line here, or square wave, however you want to say it. So we're gonna put a trigger on here. We're just using this because it's handy, and so it's super fast, as you can see. It's quick like a little bunny. Let's go 200 microseconds per division. That's probably a little too fast for us. This way here we can see our data communication. We can stop it and have a look, but these taller spikes, I think, denote like end of transmission. We're not going to get into that whole deal because really it's kind of not important right now. But what is important is we see these data packets being transferred at, I think, approximately the correct voltages. So that one there, where are we at here? We're at 2.5 to about 3.5 volts. Now we should see just the opposite of this on can low. It should be a mirror image reflecting this. We have to move our trigger, and we move our trigger, and we're about 2.5 to 1.5 volts here. Let's skip this back here a little bit. We got some mumbo jumbo going on here, though. It's not near as clean, but it could be breaking down on us right now. So yeah, we're about 2.2 volts to about 1.2 volts ish. So we're just going to take a look. We just kind of want to have an overview. So there's can low. Let me get rid of our trigger. There's can high, can low. Unfortunately with this we can't look at them both at the same time. It is interesting. I thought it started out about 2.5 volts. Let's see, there's 2.5 volts right there. Oops. Oh, when I get rid of that, it goes away. That stands to reason. So there are lines at 2.5 volts go can high, and our can high sitting on 2.5 volts. Our can low is a little different. Is that something to be concerned with? I don't know. But what I do want to know now is we're going to shut this back off. I'm going to wait for it to quit talking here. We're going to unplug our scan tool. Which now it kind of works. I'm going to wait for pin 6 and 14 to quit jibber jabbering. Always important if you're doing any network testing, unplug your scan tool. All right, so they're done talking now. Let's just see what our resistance value is now. We know it was close to 120. It was like 110. So we're gonna go 6 and 14. And we are at, how's that? It says it's shorted right together. It says it's at 5 ohms. Interesting, but it was still talking, right? 6 and 14. Truck still runs, does it? Like I said, we should have the battery on hook for this test, but nope. So the truck's dead right now. It doesn't start again. However, it's communicating. So we're gonna plug this back in. So that's pretty interesting. But now, as I plug it back in, now look at our can low. It is shorted because that's a can high. Now we're going from 0. Yeah, this is all screwed up now. Now it's definitely broke. I'm hearing something clicking inside the dash again. I don't know if that means it's coming back alive. But our can low essentially is just reflecting what we have on can high, except it's starting out at 0 volts. So there is definitely something going wonky here without a doubt. Dash is going crazy. Okay, our network went from 110 ohms to 5 ohms just while you guys are sitting here watching this. So there's definitely something going going astray, because you've seen this. And what's curious, I guess I'm just gonna think out loud here while I got you guys right here. I haven't looked at this vehicle, obviously, so I don't know what's wrong with it. What's curious is what seemed to change it is just leaving the key on. It's not so much, and this was my thought too when I first talked to this guy, is this thing breaking down because it's getting hot, you know, physically from, you know, from heat running the engine, transmission's getting hot, or is it getting hot, key on, engine off, or key on, engine running, just electronics getting hot, you know? Could I have pushed this thing in and just left the key on, and we could have seen the same issue? I don't know. I think we're going to go down our same path. We figured out a couple things. I do still believe that we have a module that's going haywire. Let's get a diagram, find out where we can break this system down, and start looking at it from there. So that's a diagram here, actually two diagrams. This diagram has all the low speed network on it. So this is, let's see, here's our data link connector right here. And I was right, pin 1 is the GM low speed. So that comes out, goes to this comb, and then feeds everything over here on the low speed, which we're not concerned about. It feeds everything over here on the low speed. All that stuff works, so we don't care about that. But what we're looking at is pin 6 and pin 14. They come out all the way up over here, and then over there, and on to page 2, and that's the high speed data bus. Now, what we need to do is figure out, and I'm just making a big fat assumption here, is that there's a module going wonky. What I would like to know, and what I don't know, is can we just remove power from the module and restore our network? Because I don't know that, I'm going to proceed with this method. So pin 6 and 14, they come over here, and they come down into this junction box, which is, pull that away so I can read it, below left end of dash. I don't think it's going to be much use getting that, but here's something that we can know. It goes to that. These wires are tagged together, and they go over here to the body control module, goes in, then back out, comes down to the transmission control module, goes in, back out, goes to the engine control module. And then that's the end of the line over here. The other spot it comes in, it jumpers over, goes to the VCIM, so that's going to be for your OnStar. Goes down here, back in and out of that junction box again. Goes to the transfer case shift module, assuming it has it. Yeah, with auto 4x4, without auto 4x4. So if it has it, you know, goes to the transfer case control or transfer case. Goes to the electronic brake control module, you know, in and then out, and then from there it goes to the external resistor, and then with four-wheel hydraulic power brake, without four-wheel hydraulic power brake, and then okay, so there's a couple discrepancies here where it could go to and from, and then the fuel pump flow control module, and then the electronic suspension control module. So what we need to do is, what can we unplug, because these, you know, comes in and out. What can we unplug and eliminate most of the system, and then we don't necessarily even need it to run. So let's say, for example, if we can get to the body module, we unplug the body module, that takes out the transmission, that takes out the engine control module, and that's it. Takes out those ones, well, plus the body module. Takes out the body module, engine control, and transmission. So let's see where the body module is. We got to start somewhere, and at least we can eliminate, and what we can do at that point is look at our data bus that we were looking at. We're expecting to see, you know, the 2.5 to 3.5 volts on the high speed, uncorrupted, you know, clean signals, low speed, 2.5 to 1.5 volts. You know, nice signal. If we unplug this and the signal's still crappy, well, we know it's not this, or this, and then we can go on to this half and start eliminating it down. That's the only way I know how to do this. Let's see where the body module lives. I think that's easy to get to, and the other one I think it might be easy to get to on this half, I think, is this transfer case shift control module, assuming this vehicle has it. It's a 6.2, it might not. We might have to look and see if it does. If it does, I think that's right under the dash. That's easy to get to also. So let's find these little guys and see if we can learn something. First, let's verify it's still broken. All right, I think we can all agree it's still broken because it's going from 0 to 3.5 on can high. Yeah, can low is super screwed up. Okay, so it's still broke. Body control module, I want to make sure they're all on the same connector. So tan, black, and tan, so pin 16, 17, 9 and 8 are both on connector X3. So let me find that. So I got that unplugged. A little different, still broke. Granted, we would have removed the resistor from it, it wouldn't look like this. Definitely still even receiving some corrupt message here, and it's still broken. Now let's just review our thoughts here real quick. So I guess we could check a couple things. So this is kind of nice on this diagram. Like I say, we have an external 120 ohm resistor here at the back of the chassis, and then the other one is inside the ECM. So technically, here, let me shut the key off. Technically, with this connector unplugged, so we disconnected this connector, so these two wires are open, we should be able to go down here on pin, whatever that is, I can't read it, 9 and 8, I guess. And we should have, if this side of the network's intact, you know, 120 ohms over here. And that, like I say, I think by unplugging this, we eliminated the tranny, and we eliminated the engine control module, and we also eliminated the body module. I believe all three of these are not our culprit. In theory, if we check at our data link connector now, the only resistor we should be able to see is this one, unless it's still shorted, or if there's some kind of funny business here, which we know there's funny business. There is something kind of funky going on. Let's get this unwound again here. Let's see. In a perfect world, we'd have 120, but we know something's broke. Okay, so we're at 120, which is correct. Very interesting. Okay, that was 120 ohms right now. I didn't look at the. It wasn't like 120 kilo ohms or anything, right? Okay, 120.4. So that shows that network being intact there. Let me plug that one back in. Plug the body module back in and see if we're at 60 now. So that's kind of curious. We're not. We're at 14 on 6 and 14 with the body module plugged back in. I think this is a red herring. I know I should follow my facts, but that's part of the fact. It's easy enough for me to unplug this body module. I'm going to unplug that again. I want to make sure that we have 60 ohms coming this way, or 120 ohms coming this way to the engine controller. Against my better judgment, I'm going to do it just because. Stand by. Let's see if I got the right ones. Yes, sir. Okay. Third try. I didn't bore you guys with the first couple tries. I couldn't see because I didn't have my readers on. Let's see. So I think we're at pin 8 and 9, which is black, and they should be right next to each other. Tan and then tan with black. There's a tan. Yeah, it should be. Let's unplug this so we're not getting any erroneous readings here. So it is number, got no numbers on here, 19 to 25. So that's, so if that's 19, that's 18, 17, and 16. Was that an option on here? It is. 16 and 17 is an option. And that's that. Okay. All right. So we're good. So 16 and 17 is the network going away from the engine computer. So that's third. There's that one here, and this one here. We should see 120 because we've already checked this half of it. 121 point whatever ohms, if you guys can see that. So now we need to check the other half. This is the half that runs towards the engine computer. Oh, stop it, you jerk. And that is the third one, third row down, third one, and then third for a second, third row down, third, this one. And this one, this is the one we were getting the funky monkey readings on once we plugged it back in. But we should see 120 here also. And we do. But for some reason, when we put them together and they go through the body module, we don't see 60. There's that one. And there's that one. And theoretically, if I hook these together, let me go get a jumper. Stand by. See, I thought it was some kind of red herring I was chasing here. So if we take these and we go like this, we go tan to tan, and we totally bypass the body control module here. That one tan or tan with black? I can't see. I don't want to jumper the wrong one. So tan with black's on the inside. Okay, which is black. This one's black. So if we jumper this one here, and we jumper this one here, our network should be complete. And then when we check it here with old Bobby, come here, Bobby. Here's our boy Bobby. Now we got to get some other test leads for our voltmeter. We'll get these. Now, theoretically, we should see 60 ohms. What happens when we plug it in the body module? Let's see. So there's our ohm meter. We go on pin 6 and 14. There's 6, there's 14. We should see 60. Because 120 plus 120 is 60. Okay, so we know wiring wise, our network is 100% intact. We know that. So let's unplug that. Now we got a mess of cables down here. Let's get this out of the way. So I'm sorry to drag you guys through the mud here with this whole thing, but I'm gonna plug this back in. You know what we should have done, and what we're gonna do before we get too far here. Gotta get my glasses back on. We should turn the key on with the body module network bypassed to see what it looked like. Okay, so let's see. This pin, and then the other red one, we're gonna go right above it. And then the black, we're gonna go right beside it. Bada bing, bada boom. I don't think our body modules are culprit, but let's just make sure we're back at 60. 6 and 14. We're back at 60 ohms. We're gonna plug our scan tool in. Boom. We're gonna turn the key on, which I had to take it out because the tag was hanging down, and if you guys see somebody's name, you go freaking crazy, so we had to take that off. Key's back on. And then we're gonna look at the network. Failed to start scope. Check BCI connection. Oh, I gotta wait for my BCI to get back connected. Stand by. Okay, it's still broken. Okay, oops, let me sneak past here. So it's still broke. That's can high. That's can low. It's still busted. So it was a red herring, but if I didn't check it, you guys wouldn't believe me. There's all kinds of trust issues. Pulling the plug on that, we pull the plug on it, there's less chatter, but the fact of the matter is it's still broke. So let's just make a quick note of what we know. We know it is not the body module that's causing a problem, it's not the training module, and it's not the engine module. We know that because when we unplugged it here, we eliminated that, and that. We eliminated those 3 modules, so we got it narrowed down. I did not see a transfer case control module when I had my head under there. Top half of my head still there. So we need to break this thing down. OnStar module, yeah, it's got OnStar, but that lives behind that mess, so we're not getting there easy. So we have ABS module. We can unplug it easy, and that's going to eliminate, you know, these 3 guys. I doubt, you know, it has anything to do with our resistor. We know that's good. We've already checked it. My suspicion is right here. If I was a gambling man, if my name was Kenny, I'd tell you this guy, how come? Because I've seen these stupid things catch on fire in my shop, and it's always a suspension module. But I'm trying not to just take a swag, as they call it, scientific wild guess. But I think at this point we need to just get it up in the air and see, is the brake control module easy to unplug? Is this thing a giant green pus sack at the back of the car like they always are? Or is this a giant green pus sack at the back of the car like they always are? So let's do that. Let's get her up in the air. So on this little guy, the ABS module hangs right out there. Fuel pump control module hangs right there. And we come in the back, and I think, see if I can get you guys in frame. Where you at? It hangs. That's the connector right behind that wiring harness for the suspension control module, which lives above the spare tire, which it looks, that looks like a pus sandwich starting in there, so I'm sure that's probably gonna be our problem. 90% of these General Motors air suspension doesn't work anyways. This one has already been eliminated. Air hoses are hanging right there. The pump is, well, gone. So this one doesn't even work anyways. Yeah, somebody's already cut the wires for the rear shock, so looks like she left the show a long time ago. The guy did say this is just this junker, it's just a winter beater. So let's just try this. Let's just do something for the sake of testing here, because there is a high probability that I am wrong in my guess. So let's keep with our scientific approach, if you will, where we're breaking the system down. Let's look to see. Get the scope working again here. I just heard it beep up there. I just want to see if it's still broke, and it is. So there's our high-speed network. We're still all the way down to 0 volts and bouncing all the way up to, 3.5 here. And that is not a data transmission message. Okay. So we're gonna hit play on that. And being that the ABS is right here and easily accessible, let's eliminate this, which is gonna eliminate the fuel pump. It's gonna eliminate the suspension module, and it's gonna eliminate the rear resistor. But I'm thinking it should also clean up our waveform, is my guess. And it's a good thing I'm a guesser, because it looks like we just fixed it, boys. Can low, there we go, can low. Let me get this back to where, oops. I reset this thing, there we go, we're back at 0. So now we can see can low goes from 2.5 volts. Of course, it's gonna be a little noisy because we're missing a resistor on the circuit now, but it's going from 2.5 down to 1.5. Shimon. Like I said, it's gonna be a little noisy and a little messy, but for the most part, we can see, I hope you guys can see. Let me get this back to 2.5 volts, which is right. Yeah, right there, 2.51. So 2.5 to 1.5, let's hit play. And then our can high should go from 2.5 to 3.5. And it does. So it's can high, can low. And that's with this unplugged. So that means the problem is either in the fuel pump control module or the rear suspension module, right? So our thought process worked. So out of the data link connector comes over. I don't know what you guys can see, hopefully. We eliminated this half, and then we come down. We're going through the OnStar module right now. Out of the OnStar module, we don't have a transfer case module, so it bypasses it. And we came down here to the brake module. So we know it's not the VCIM, it's not transfer case shift module, and it possibly is a failed brake module, which I doubt, or a failed fuel pump module, or a failed suspension module. Easiest thing to do now, if you want to keep checking this process, we plug this back in and unplug this. That will tell us if our problem is in the brake module. So I hope you guys follow along here. My theory and practice on this may be complete garbage, but it works for me. So now we can see it's broke. This module is easy enough to get a hold of. It should unplug relatively easy, I think. Wait, does it unplug? I don't want to break his rubber here. Oh, there we go. So there's that. Let me hang this back up. Okay, with this unplugged, our network is restored yet again. Can high, can low. So that tells us that the brake control module is good, because now the network's running through everything, through the brake module, and we just broke the circuit here. And now it's fixed. So that eliminates it down to it's either the fuel pump control module or the suspension module. If we wanted to know for a fact, we could stick a set of jumper wires in here, just like we did on the body module. We jumper the network in to the out, and the in to the out on the plus and the minus side. And then if it's still broken, we know that this module is good and the module at the suspension is bad. But I'm not gonna do that because I'm a gambler and I highly doubt that this is bad. Just because it's not solid pus, but the suspension module is. So what we need to do now is go back to the suspension module and unhook it and then bypass it, jumper it, so we have because our 60 ohm chassis resistor is back there somewhere. This resistor lives back there, you know, probably taped to the harness, because the thing we could actually do. Yeah, let's go back to that connector. I'll see if I can get it. I doubt the spare tire will come out of this thing without being cut out with a torch, but we might have to do what we gotta do. I don't really have a good place to put you folks, so I'm gonna try to reach up and grab, oh, I was gonna say reach up and grab the connector. How about we just grab the whole module? That's super duper handy that it's broken, because the fuel filler neck's right in the way. I think, right? I can't freaking see. Oh yeah, boy. Come on, baby. Dang it. I gotta get it out of there. There we go. That boy. Oh boy. Well, lucky what happened. Let's, I'm gonna keep you guys in the crappy position that you're in. Gotta kind of yank this down. I want to get the connector unplugged one right here. Possibly. Yes, baby! Alright. Woo! She's unplugged, boys. There's Mama, I don't know what you guys can see, but she is holy, holy, holy. Sorry about the crappy footage here, but we're pretty fortunate though that there was nothing holding this thing on. And look, see, she's rusted through. However, it is not finished, but it works. Look at that. Okay, so there's low speed, there's our high speed, and so we can go like this. Now we should be able to talk to everything, even though the resistor's out of the circuit. It should still, oh look at that, automatically ID'd it, so that's good. We can go to auto ID now. Before it wouldn't, I had to type in the VIN manually. And now we're working on a Yukon. Gonna ask them some questions. We've got automatic HVAC. We gotta wait for the OK button to highlight here. It takes a minute. Okay, and then we should be able to do a system scan. We should see everything on the high speed now. Of course, it's gonna have codes in it because, well, because we were fiddling and because it's missing as part of the network. So it's good, it communicates now. I don't really care about the codes. We need to finish our job back here. I'm gonna have to get a little bit huggy here. To finish the job, we need to find our network wires, which are gonna be tan and then tan with black, and they should all be pretty close to each other. There's a tan. This whole thing's junk, so it doesn't matter. That's tan, tan with black. They're usually right close to each other, which, okay, so we're gonna guess. There's that, a tan. There's a tan with black. We want them out of the harness because we need to continue on with the loop here. There are some other tan wires in here, but they're tan white. Usually network wires are right next to each other. We can check them with a scope also. There's tan, tan, black, and then inside here. Or we could just short them together, see if it takes the network down. There's a tan. There's a tan black. Okay, so those should be, in a perfect world, our network wires. Could be wrong, but I think I'm right. And then, what we need to do, this is super awkward, sitting over top of you, talking into your ear. You freaks. Let's see. We're gonna take, I do need to move you because you're making it super weird. There, it's not as bad, it's just gonna drop a bunch of crap in the lens now, but that's okay. We're gonna take those two, and we're gonna take these two, and we're gonna hook them together. And we'll stick this whole thing in a bag because there's other wires on here. I think most of it won't make a difference. Chances are the fuse has already been yanked out of it, would be my assumption, being that everything else has been disabled. And we're gonna hook these together so he's got a 60 ohm resistor in the very end. Theoretically, we could take a 60 ohm resistor and just put it across the two network wires coming in, which that's a possible option. Or we could just hook it. We could just hook it back together, which we'll do because, frankly, who's got a 60 ohm resistor kicking around? I mean, we do, but we're not gonna waste it on this truck. So let's just strip these wires back. Oh man, we're making things go ding in there. We probably should turn the key off, but I don't think it really matters. Okay, there we go. So let's see. So theoretically, tan and black, tan and black. Let's see, we didn't have some wire nuts on, boys. We'll twist these together. That should clean up our pattern a little bit, and it should give us 160 ohms. I'm at 60 ohms. I had no way to recover from that one. We should have 60 ohms now at the data link connector with these twisted together. In theory, right? Or we should actually, if we measure it right here, we don't even have to let the car down, put the keys on, so it might not be right. But let me look at the waveform now. So everything looks functional there. Let's open up the door here as far as we can. We'll sneak in here. Technically, the car should run. Runs, throw it apart, shut the key off. Down here, old Bob. Oh man, I'm hooked. Let's unhook that, and then let's wait for the network to go down here. I'm not going to unhook the battery. We might have to, but that could have been screwing up our results the first time. Okay, 6 and 14 are done blinking, so the network is down right now. Let's see. I probably mentioned before, but we should have the battery unhooked. Okay. Ding dong, ding dong. There's number 14. There's number 6. We're looking for 60. And there we go. 62 and some change, so that's really good. So we've got our wires correct back there. Good guess on those. And that's it. The car is fixed. Easy, baby. Now that we know we've got the right wires, and every one of these, well, it's going to drop solder right on my arm. I can feel that. Oh, I'm scared of it. One drop on my arm. Woo! Gotta wait quick for that one. Get it on here. Alright, there's that one. Let's make sure I got that other one good here. Don't worry about getting solder on me. There we go, there's drop. There we go. So they're hooked together good. Let me get some heat shrink now. I might have to get some bigger heat shrink. Oh no, there we go. Fits over nice and tight. I'm going to shove it right down on that wire. Oops. Just right down over that one. So there's 2 pieces of heat shrink. Cover those up. Grab our little mini torch here. I just want to make sure I heat shrink the ends so they go right shut. Right end up here. Get them nice and hot. Give them a little pinch with your fingers. This has the adhesive in it. Well, that's higher than a Banshee. Who would have thought, huh? And then we'll heat shrink them down on this end. Alright, they're shrunk down nicely. And just be sure that end is sealed good. I'm going to come just about a 1/4 inch up from where we did it. Cut them. Oh yeah, the old adhesive is oozing right out of that baby. Same on this end. Cut that. Give them one more pinch. Just want to make sure water's not going to get in there. Okay, that's good. So those are good and sealed up. Now, like I say, I think we'll just cover up this whole connector with a bag and a zip tie. Just keep the dirt and salt. This truck don't have much longer left in it. Another year or so, it's going to be in the scrapyard. So the way to fix this properly, let's say you were doing this and the cause of the problem wasn't corrosion, but it's just, a bad module. Or let's say you had a functioning air suspension. The way to do it would be to buy a new air suspension module, put it in, program it, and you would be done. In this case, like I say, the truck is junk, so we're just treating it like junk. There, look, we're never there. Ta-da! We got us a roll 33. Watch this. You guys are gonna freak out. But here's the other way that we can do this. We just got it. It may not even matter. There's a serial data wake up line in here, which I don't know if it's just independent. But we're just gonna go like this because we don't want to find out. I'm not gonna do a whole lot of time into this thing. If we can keep this thing from turning into a giant green pus sack for a year or 2, then great. We're just gonna cover it all up with tape. The other thing we could do too is we could just plug it back in. That would keep it from getting crappy. We're just gonna go like this. This will seal it off. Well, Scotch is pretty good. Come back around to this end. We'll stick that just like that. We'll go around there some more. This got to have people freaking out in the comment section at this point. That's alright, I already spoke with this guy, so we're cool, man. We're all on the same page as far as me and this dude. I'm gonna come around this side. This is the backwoods fix right here, folks. I've bypassed me a lot of GM data networks. We're pretty familiar with this repair. However, I will admit I am not the guy to watch for network diagnostics. It is my weak point. I do hope to get better at it someday, but I don't see a lot of data network issues. However, I'm usually able to track them down relatively easily, just using common sense and an analytical thought process. Okay, let me finish wrapping this up. You guys gotta move. You're making it too weird. So there, finished scanning here. I see we have just one code in it now in the body control module. Which, I don't know, I would think that there would be a module that sets a code against the suspension module, but maybe nobody has to look at it because nobody cares what it's doing. So body module has a code in it here, loss of comm with vehicle dynamic control module. So that's interesting. It's not suspension module. The dynamics is like the yaw rate and stuff, right? Like I think it's in the steering angle sensor maybe. So that's interesting. That's the only little guy that's not talking. Of course, I don't know how many codes were in this thing, prior to it coming in. We'd have to get with the customer. But I'm quite surprised to see that other modules on the high-speed network aren't tattletaling on this guy, saying like, hey, we can't talk to this fella. But evidently they don't care. Otherwise, they would flag a code against it. So that's it. We're done. Show's over. So that's that, folks. Pretty easy one on this one. It's an older vehicle, not a lot of modules. There was only, well, at least on the high speed, there was only how many here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There was only 6. So, which is pretty easy because by today's standards, that's really not much. The low speed side had 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, like 18 modules on the low speed side, which that's also pretty easy to diagnose because they've got a junction box that you can go to, and assuming you can get to it, and you diagnose them a little bit differently. Now, as I mentioned, I'm not a super strong network guy. The majority of them that I fix are these old junk GMs, you know, and I've seen everything from bad, you know, some fuel pump modules taking them down. I've had some late models come in with OnStar, the vehicle communication interface module, taking them down, body modules, ECMs, you know, you name it, these things have a host of problems. So why, you know, if I wasn't doing a video where I've started at data link connector, being honest with you, seeing the car, seeing it's all rotted out, probably not. I probably would have went right for the guts, though. I would have went back there, visual inspection on this guy, seeing if you could shake the salt out of it, just because I see that more often than not. And I've actually had these. I had a Cadillac in the shop once that this actually caught fire in the shop, had it on the alignment rack. Oof. Up in smoke it goes. The car was an absolute piece of crap. It was like an 09 Escalade, rotted right to pieces. And I could smell it, and she started sizzling. And fortunately, I was able to get it all unplugged and, you know, jumpered it and parked the piece of crap outside so the lady could take it home. She didn't want to put any money into it. And I shoved a couple paper clips in it so she could get it out of here. And that was it. However, I did start the data link connector this time because I wanted to bring you down just a regular thought process. If I didn't know anything about this car or pattern failures on General Motors, how would I start this problem? And that's how I would start, at the data link connector. And just like when we're trying to find a short in a wire, or yeah, I guess we'd be looking for a short where we, you know, we got something blowing the fuse, we're gonna break the system down. How can we cut this thing in half and say, you know, this half's good, this half's bad, break it in half again, break it in half again. You know, you start out this big part of the funnel and you're trying to get down to this little pinpoint part of it. Does it work on every network configuration? No, it doesn't. Does it work on every network style? No, it doesn't. On this one, these super simple, you know, data networks like this, it's the easiest and fastest way to do it. Even starting there, if we weren't doing a video, we don't have much time into it, getting some measurements. But again, you know, I seen that red herring of the resistance values changing, and I didn't really want to get into that, but we checked it anyways. So I hope it's useful to somebody. I think we've done some other networking problems, like on Chryslers. I think we did a carry van once that was pulling down the whole interior CAN bus. They had a wire chafe through. That was pretty interesting. But the same process, like, you know, where's the issue coming from? And the reason I don't know a lot about them is because I don't see a lot of these faults outside of, you know, General Motors, unless it's a module that's completely dead and just, you know, dropped off the network. That's totally different. We see a lot of that on all different kinds of makes and models. But actually having something take out the entire data network, I just don't see it a lot. Collision shops see it, and typically if we see it, it's corrosion or if somebody's been there. Typically it's not just a fault that happens at random, at least from what I've seen. Usually 90% of the time, somebody's had their fingers in there. Thing's been in a collision, body shop did a crappy job putting together, you know, black taped up the harness, you know, somebody's been there, something's touched it. Anyways, go down there and touch that keyboard and type on it with fingers. Find us on the Insta, the Facebook, you guys know what to do. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.